This Is Us is known for its twists and turns, but more consistent than that are the tears shed by its audience week in and week out. How Randall became the third triplet even before the big-time jump twist was revealed on the pilot of This Is Us. The tears were already flowing when it was revealed that one of Jack and Rebecca's triplets didn't make it through childbirth. Struck by a moment of inspiration in grieving, the Pearsons decide to adopt a baby who had been abandoned and showed up at the hospital on the same day. Jack's fate first. The show dropped the bombshell that Jack has been gone for so long that Randall's kids consider someone else entirely their grandpa. We shouldn't have been surprised to learn, then, that the Pearson family patriarch is actually dead, and had been since about 2006. Kate seems to have a hard time moving on from it, still maintaining a tradition of watching every Steelers game with her dad, even if it's just his ashes left now. The truth about William: we knew William was dying pretty early on, but that didn't make him trustworthy. It took Beth gently chiding Randall about his inherent goodness and William's shady behavior to get the truth out on the table. William isn't still doing drugs, he's been disappearing for hours on end each day in order to take the bus to his house to feed his cat. Well, now I feel like a bitch, Beth quipped, and we wept. Toby's past the heartbreaking moments don't belong exclusively to the Pearsons. When Kate pushes, Toby reveals exactly why he's not with his gorgeous ex-wife Joyce anymore. Turns out, she was so horrible to him that he became suicidal and gained 100 pounds in a year. Ouch. The truth about William, part 2 in the same episode that they killed Jack. This Is Us laid down another whopper. Randall cleaned up his daughter's room, clutching some clothing left behind by William, implying he has said goodbye to yet another father, perhaps at some time in the near future. We don't really even know what happened here yet, and we're already crying. Kate the princess after being ostracized by her friends in the coolest way possible. Little Kate's spirit was brought back to life thanks to a bit of magical storytelling by Jack, who hands her his t-shirt and tells her she can be anything she wants when she wears it, though she's always a princess in his eyes. Who's chopping onions around here? Rebecca and Shakespeare finding herself unable to bond with her adopted son after the death of one of her triplets. Rebecca seeks out the baby's birth father instead of telling her husband. Their heart-to-heart, where she refused his request for a visitation and he gives her the inspiration to name the baby Randall, is one of the show's most gut-wrenching so far. Randall just wants to fit in when the Pearsons discover little Randall is gifted. It seems like a great thing, until Jack gets it out of him that he's been pretending to be not as smart as he is in order to fit in with his siblings. Jack's sacrifice: the Pearson patriarch decides to take the plunge and leave his steady job to open his own business, just as they get news that Randall is so smart he should attend a pricey private school. In the end, Jack puts his family first, taking a promotion he never wanted so his kids can thrive. Best dad ever. Kate's deepest fears: though Olivia's delivery was less than ideal or compassionate, a revelatory weekend at their family cabin forces Kate to admit what she's truly afraid of, that even if she goes through with gastric bypass and loses weight, she'll still be unhappy. Randall's trip down memory lane: only on this show could a bad hallucinogenic mushroom take the characters and the audience on a gut-wrenching emotional journey. As Randall reels from his mother's betrayal, a vision of his dead father takes him down memory lane to reveal just how hard and lonely it must have been for his mother to keep such a secret to herself. Toby's last Christmas. Just as Toby and Kate were joyfully reunited just in time for Christmas, he collapses, and ends up on an operating table. Cue hiatus and more potential heartbreak for the Pearsons. William chooses to die after grappling with why he has such a problem with William spending so much time with Jessie. The father-son duo have another heartbreaking conversation, where William confesses he can feel the end is coming, and he'd like to stop chemo so he can enjoy his final days. Kate and the rage drums during a seemingly hooky fat camp exercise. Kate taps into some very real emotions, mostly about her father's death, and lets out a primal scream so heartbreaking we still can't get it out of our minds and ears. Trouble in Paradise. After an episode where their happy marriage was contrasted to Miguel and Shelley's crumbling relationship, Jack and Rebecca were left off on an ominous note when she revealed she wants to go on tour with her band, led by ex-boyfriend Ben. Randall's breakdown: the stress of work and William's impending death finally takes its toll on Randall, who has a full-blown breakdown. The scene is made all the more emotional when the ever-self-absorbed Kevin picks up on the strain in his brother's voice and races to his side to cradle him in his arms as he cries. All of Memphis William finally passes at the end of this heartbreaking episode, which centers around his road trip home to Memphis with Randall. The hour is spent going between flashbacks of his youth and the road he traveled to leave his mother and music career behind and get mixed up with drugs. Randall is with his biological father when he passes, and the drive back home is both the most cathartic and heart-wrenching scene we've ever watched. Jack and Rebecca's separation, though the break was ultimately a very short one, as Rebecca soon came to pick Jack up from Miguel's place. The end of season 1 left us on a cliffhanger as we wondered if and when Rebecca and Jack would reunite after a huge fight. Trying to keep from bawling for the next few months as we awaited the answer at the beginning of season 2 was our biggest problem over the summer hiatus. Kate's miscarriage this episode packed more of a punch than anyone was ready for, even though we found out at the end of the previous episode what was to come. Watching Kate lose her and Toby's baby in number 2 and the different ways they chose to grieve was truly a once-in-a-lifetime TV experience. But it was definitely something we only want to witness once. The fire, we have yet to learn exactly when and how Jack died, but we now have a very big piece of the puzzle, a fire. At the beginning of season 2 we saw a devastating scene in which Rebecca drives up to the family's home, with some of Jack's belongings in a bag in the passenger seat, and begins to weep while looking at the charred remains of the house. Fans don't know what happened, but we assume it wasn't good and it resulted in Jack's death. Jack's father's death. To say that Jack and his father had a tumultuous relationship would be an understatement. But when we saw him on his deathbed we forgot all about their horrible history and watched Kate and Rebecca say goodbye to a man they never knew because Jack wasn't there. Kevin and Sophie's breakup, seeing as we have yet to witness how these two lovebirds are originally split, it was really hard to watch Kevin dump Sophie due to his new addiction. The two were high school sweethearts who divorced at a young age after Kevin cheated, and we don't know what went wrong, but after this upsetting scene we don't know if fans can handle seeing the first go round. Kevin's addiction. Kevin developed an addiction to painkillers and alcohol following an onset injury at the beginning of season 2. After watching number 1 and learning how his already bad knee was ruined during a football game, thus ending his dream career, the tears started flowing and haven't let up since.